You know, it's always interesting to me the different ways that different people get into business for themselves. And a lot of times in life, maybe you know people, maybe you're one of these people, you go through a lot of education and you're dead set, this is the way I'm going to go with my life. And you spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of sleepless nights studying to go just the right direction. You get into it and you realize this isn't what I want to do. What's next? Our next guest has a really interesting story, and it's worked out great for her with the decisions she's made over the years to own her own business based nothing on what she trained to do back in her college years. Her name is Lisa Johnson. The business is Maid of Playa, Vista. We want to welcome Lisa Johnson to our show. Lisa, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on with us today. I know, I know as an entrepreneur, you got to be busy, and we appreciate that you took time to get on board with us today to share your story, because what a story it is. And if I would read my notes correctly, you're trained as a psychologist. Is that correct?
That is true.
So
I do understand that's a very unusual path.
Well, you know, it's maybe not as unusual as you think, because there's many of us that went to college and studied to do one thing, and we don't do anything remotely related. So I don't think it's as unusual as you think. But for your sake, I think it's worked out really well. So back 15 years ago, there you are, trained psychologist. You worked really hard to get there and decided, you know, this isn't exactly for me, and you started looking around. What other type of businesses did you look at before you settled in on this one?
Well, I actually went through a franchise agent, and they work similar to real estate agents, where they get to know you and your interest and your time frame for your return on the investment, your likes and dislikes, and then they make suggestions to you. So Maid was one of the suggestions that they made to me, and I hadn't heard of it before they presented it. But after I did my own research and met with them, I was very impressed with their group and decided that that was the best opportunity for me at that time, you know, for the local market.
All right, let's get into it a little bit. I could probably guess what Maid is all about, but I don't want to embarrass myself. So why don't you tell us, what is Maid all about? What type of business is it?
It's a residential cleaning franchised business. And the thing that sets it apart from the many other cleaning businesses out there is that we are an actual employer. We're not an agency. So our people are W-2 tax-paying people with workers' compensation insurance. They have a boss. It's a fully above-board operation.
That is a little different from others I've talked to. And why do you think that would be an advantage as compared to others?
Well, I think that there are three different tiers of cleaning. You have your independent cleaners who work under the table and, you know, make all of their own arrangements, set their own prices and what they're willing to do and not do. And then you have agencies that are businesses, but they function as matchmakers. They connect people who need cleaning with people who want to do it, but they don't have any responsibility for what happens once that pairing is made. And then at the top tier, you have a business like ours, like Maid, where there is oversight, there is responsibility. We train people, we insure them, we know who we're sending you. It's a very different relationship.
Well, very different indeed, but the fact that you've been doing it for 15 years sounds to me like you made a pretty wise choice back when you were looking for a business to get into. You've been doing it for 15 years. Do you by any chance know how long Maid has been around themselves?
Wow, about 40 years.
Oh, goodness. Well, then no wonder you made such a smart decision.
Quite a long time.
Yeah, they'd already been doing it 25 years before you hopped on the train with them. So far, so good. I'm curious on the residential end, for the most part, do you have set contracts for people where you go a predetermined amount of times? And in addition to that, do you also do some seasonal work as well? For example, I'd love to get my house cleaned up before and then after the holidays. Do you work that route as well?
Yes, absolutely. Our core business is the recurring service customer, where we're going every week or every other week and sending the same two people out to do the same thing on a set schedule. And it really just runs itself. I have some employees who've been with me 13, 14 years, and they've been cleaning the same houses for that period of time. So we really know these people, and they know us, and they look forward to seeing us, and we're part of their landscape.
Well, you're absolutely part of their landscape, both with your staff and also with your clients. And I'm going to touch on that here in just a little bit. But I want to back up to the fact that all entrepreneurs go through, whether they're franchise route or not, when you own your own business, you never know what's going to come up. And in the time period that you've had your business, two really big things that hurt a lot of people have popped in that you've been able to fight through. Going back to 2008 with the recession, that couldn't have been real easy for you. And then, of course, with all the COVID stuff going on these days, that can't be easy for you either. So how are you able to get through big things like that as a business owner?
Yes, well, 2008 was a difficult year. We'd been kind of humming along until that period, and then there was a gradual decline in service requests. But what I found during that period is that people were reluctant, even during that time, to let us go completely. We would frequently get calls where someone, maybe a weekly client, would call and say, hey, you know, I've got to cut back on some of my expenses right now, but I don't want to lose you guys completely, so I'm going to temporarily change my frequency from weekly to every other week. We got similar calls for people who were scheduled every other week, who were going to go monthly for a period, but again, didn't want to cut the business loose completely. And we were always happy when the reverse happened and those calls started filtering back in saying, hey, you know, I'm full-time again, or I've got another job and I want you guys back with the frequency that I used to have.
Well, and then rolling in today with everything we have going on across the entire world with the pandemic, obviously you're in the cleaning business, which segues nicely. You may have picked up some new business because of that, but even with the business that you're in, have you had to make some internal changes to make people more comfortable or to do even a better job strictly because of COVID?
Yes, we did. And I actually elected to close my office for a period of time. Just to digest all of the new information that was coming in about COVID and what we needed to do to adapt and make sure that we were providing a service that was going to be safe for our clients and also for our employees. So we retrained everyone. We do carry a disinfectant that kills the coronavirus, and we made sure that everyone was retrained on the proper use of that and how often to use it, where to use it. And that has been something that's been very popular, as you can imagine, with our client base. But also our people are wearing masks full time. They are wearing the one-time use disposable gloves. That was something we had to switch out from the reusable ones that we had been using. And in general, just greater attention to detail and the social distancing. A term that's coming up frequently now is contactless cleaning. And that's something that we've been trying to facilitate. We have clients who don't want to be present at all when we come. So maybe we'll give them a call and say, hey, we're 30 minutes away, and they leave their home, and then we give them a call when we're 30 minutes from finishing. They wait a period of time until they determine they're comfortable, and then they return. So they don't have to be in the same physical space with us while we're working.
Well, Lisa Johnson, I must say, you have all the bases covered when it comes to being a successful small business owner. And the fact that you've already been doing it for 15 years, we don't need to say anything else. You fought off some really big things in the business world. You get right through it, and you're there for your customers and your staff at all times. Congratulations to your successful business. We wish you continued success, and we appreciate you being on our show today. Thanks a lot, Lisa. Take care.
Thank you for having me.